Hello, everybody. Nothing says Happy 4th of July if you're in America like a Mexican Coca-Cola and a room full of mostly Japanese guitars. I wanted to talk today, because we're celebrating Independence Day, about some American guitars in the direction that things have gone, and if America is still, in your eyes, the place that makes the best guitars in the world. It's hard to say that one way or another, because there's going to be exceptional guitars individually from everywhere, for sure. But I already read Mark Leford's comment. I'm going to kind of address, if you're popping in, what I want you to vote based on. He said he votes other. We're not specifying factory, manufacturer, they're independent and boutique builders. Yes, and that's kind of what I'm starting off with here. I'm taking everything into account. Factory and independent. I think you know where my vote goes as a whole here, which would be to Japan. I don't think I would have said that years and years and years ago. However, yeah, I think I would go with Japan. But with that being said, as a caveat, I think one of, if not the best guitar I have is an American guitar, and that's the Gibson. Yeah, it's something else. It's something else. But they're not all that good. And they're not very consistent. So, anyways. Hey, the USA have always struggled with quality, and today they are no better. I don't think quality, I think it depends what you define as quality. Because there's a lot of quality components used on a lot of American guitars, even production guitars. The actual quality of the components are there. It's the quality of the build that sometimes I find lacking. And it's kind of unfortunate, but it kind of is what it is. Even if I was to say America was not as good as Japan at building guitars right now, which I don't believe they are. I think Japan has surpassed America overall. I can't think of anywhere else I would put over America. If you can, let me know. Let me know if you can. Hi, Greg. How you doing? Yeah, I wasn't sure if we were going to do this today because it is the holiday. Everyone's home. Everyone's working on stuff. And we have a farmer's market thing where we have a booth where we're going to be setting up for this weekend. And we're prepping a lot of stuff for it. My wife's making a lot of stuff, piñatas mostly. And I'm selling random Japanese stuff, which, you know, it is what it is. And then a few of the cheaper guitars. And if you look, the racks are still kind of full. However, they're getting cleared out compared to where things were. I don't need all this stuff. And the other thing is, this room is tiny. And I feel cramped in it, and it makes me feel like I'm in a dungeon. It really does. And so I want to free up space, and I could use that money for other stuff. So, really narrowing things down. The Gibson ES 335 is for sale. I have it priced at $2,500, dead even, on the shop's website. Daphne Blue Custom Telecaster is still for sale on that website too. That's $1,200. That's really good, cheap. And then the JV Jazzmaster I marked down to $3,000. And that's like, I'm not going to take anything less than that. I'll just keep the thing forever if I don't get that, because I see other Jazzmasters from Japan that are not JVs that are higher priced than that. And yeah, I think it's a really fair deal and a great guitar. But plug out of the way here. Yeah, I'm just downsizing stuff, and also I'm working on becoming more modular. I'm gonna start filming in places that are not this room. It's too cramped with all the lights and everything. It's just too much to do full time like in the old house. I really miss that room. I don't miss that house, and I don't miss that area or that city that much, but that room, man, that was a godsend. You got to bail. Don't worry about it, Mark Leford. Have a good day. I hope that, you have a solid day with your friends and your family. Evan, yeah, it has been a long time since you've made it to a live stream. Bit early, late. Yeah. Australia, man. It's an interesting place to watch stuff from here in America when we go live. Hey Daniel, how are you? All right, I'm gonna initially look at the votes where they sit. And so far we have 16 of them. 19% say the USA. 75% say Japan. Nobody says the UK. Woo. I thought somebody like Sean would vote for the UK. Well, maybe, you know what? I should have said Europe. Maybe we would have been a vote or two for Europe if I just wrote the whole of Europe, even though you Brexited. So, not you, but Europe, Britain did. And then other got 6%. How about a room tour? There is not much to see. It's a mess. So if you go to the right, we're at the end of the room. Right there, you have the microphone. Right there, the computer, and then right behind that, that's the wall. That's the end, the amp. And then the other side, window, and other wall. And that is it. That is it. I'm not complaining about it. It's just an adjustment coming from one room where I was able to really, and there was more light in that room too. I think that's almost more important than the space. The ceiling was a little higher and I had more light in it. It felt more like a creative spot, where this feels more like a little crammed office. Happy 4th of July. Happy 4th of July to you too. Tellys are better. And I'm happy you're in here, man. And Steve, how are you? Steve did a video about jet guitars recently. And I know a lot of people were asking me to compare the Harley Benton, the ST Modern Plus, or Pro Plus, Modern Pro Plus. I can't keep up with one of the Jets. And I'm not going to be able to do that for a few reasons. First of all, because that Harley Benton was one of the guitars that was sold. I said it at the end of the video, but I know most people don't watch the whole videos. They watch first 4 or 5 minutes. And at the end, I did say I was going to keep the Corey Wong for now. And we're going to get rid of the Harley Benton. So that's what I did. That is what I did. Yeah, and some of it's just, I don't know. But I've already, I've been working on some ways to record stuff digitally. Yeah, I said that. And in other areas of the house. So it might not always be the same uniform kind of background here. Which is pretty cool to me because it shakes things up. Shakes things up. Thanks. You've never played a guitar made in the UK. I suspect not many of us have. What was that one brand you have? It's like a thin line Telecaster with a wide range pickups in it. Har? I don't know where they're based out of. But those look like really good guitars. Your Ibanez RG Prestige is the only guitar that I ever purchased that did not require a setup that has been perfect since I bought it 7 years ago. That is that's Japan. That's Japan in a nutshell for you. Funny enough, a friend of mine that I met from doing YouTube texted me this morning. He bought his first guitar from Japan. He's really excited about it. He bought a pretty high-end Gretsch. And he's like, they sent me the tracking info. And then, I got a text, 10 minutes later. It's just they sent me a full video of the guitar showing, everything and, demoing it. And I was just like, yep. I'm like, welcome to buying guitars from Japan. And when you get it, it's going to play really damn well out of the box. You always tweak things here and there for your own setup taste, but they don't screw around. They don't screw around. And it's one thing, somebody who does work on kind of a limited time schedule, when I get to do YouTube and stuff like that, if I get a guitar from Japan, straight from Japan, which is the only way I buy Japanese guitars, when it comes out of the box, I don't have to do a setup, period. So I can get right into filming with it. Now, I know that's not something that's a huge deal to a lot of people, but I appreciate that because they really care that your guitar is going to be playable out of the box. Whereas that's not always the case, even from big box stores that promise you all sorts of things. I've had to spend hours sometimes dialing in guitars, which is, It is what it is. But for the purpose of content creation, I appreciate the fact that I can take a guitar out of the box and immediately start to get playing and be good. Be good. Be very happy with that. You would love to try UK Daniels Les Paul. I've never heard of those. I'll have to look into that. Hearth in line is from the Netherlands. The Netherlands. All that we can pray for is if by some fluke of God, which happened last match, England go through against Switzerland, that the Netherlands dispose of England in a glorious fashion. That's all we can hope for. So I'm very pro-Netherlands today. Happy 4th of July to you, Matt. Matt got his guitar. He was worried about it. All ended up all right. And it's a Maybach. Or Maybach. I'm not sure how they would pronounce it. But it's a beautiful blue burst. Well, that's me for the night. You're playing a blues jam this Saturday. You're playing out. That's amazing, Evan. Enjoy it. Soak it up. Have fun. That's great to hear, man. There's only about 5 USA companies and dozens of other companies around the world. If we compare the other companies to the USA, their best is going to cost in the same ballpark. Well, cost doesn't have anything to do with it. I've played Fender custom shops that were nowhere near as good. And I've had, how many Fender custom shops have I had? 6 or 7. And they're all great guitars. I'm not saying they're bad. But the difference between, well, I think you have to caveat it too. Because the custom shops that I've had were all team builds from Fender Custom Shop, which should not be like it's not going to be like the highest tier. Those are still expensive guitars relative to what else is available on the market, right? I've never played a master built Fender Custom Shop. Be interested to try that. With one that was like properly vintage spec'd. None of these like mishmash of modern specs. Like a pure, this is a reissue. And that's one thing I never understood about Fender. They refuse to do what Gibson does. Like with the R8 Les Paul, the R9 Les Paul, the 64 335, you're getting the exact same specs. The same fret wire, the same radius, the same sorts of finishes on them. Fender, for whatever reason, the majority are relic to some varying degrees, and they're very modern. You're not getting the 7 1/4 on a regular basis. You're just not. They don't offer it. And you're certainly not getting vintage frets. So you're not getting that same experience of... You're not getting it either way, but with Gibson, if you buy a 1958 reissue Les Paul, it's far closer than buying, if you were to go in a time machine, an actual Les Paul from 1958 than if you were to do the other thing, the opposite with Fender. You buy a 58 Telecaster custom shop, it's going to be a bit different spec and design wise from one in that earlier era, the late 50s, early 60s. That's their business model. Apparently, they sell enough guitars that's what the majority of people want. But to me, I really do like that about Gibson a lot more than Fender. But to the point of what you were saying, I don't care about cost. And I've had major... that custom shop Mustang went back to the custom shop on 3 different occasions because they couldn't get it right. And that's the custom shop. That would never happen in Japan. That doesn't happen in Japan with production guitars. One of the really high-end guitars, no chance. Like the LED series top of the line of Cruise, that is just as good as you're ever going to get. 3 dots. The really top tier of the Van Zants, Black Smoker. Those brands that do like the really high end, like nothing is cut at all. They're out of this world, and you pay for it. A lot of the appeal to a lot of people in Japan is to buying Japanese guitars rather, is that compared to prices of American guitars or Mexican guitars, they're really good, and they are in that price range. You can get some great stuff. Like, again, that Momose Jaguar, if it was just lighter, that was a much better guitar than my Fender Custom Shop Jaguar. That was a much better guitar, in my opinion. And that wasn't, I mean, I guess it kind of was a custom shop because it's built by a few people and all by hand. But it wasn't expensive. So, I don't know. It's in the eye of the beholder, I guess. What was the Japanese website that had the hybrid Jaguars with the matching headstocks? The hybrid Jaguars? There were no hybrid Jaguars. The hybrid Jaguars were discontinued after the first line of the hybrid series. Going into the hybrid 2s, there have been no hybrid Jaguars. And the original hybrid Jaguars, outside of, I think, one or two shop order special runs, did not have matching headstocks. The regular production models that came in, Flamingo Pink, Charcoal, Frost, Daphne Blue, Surf Green, Seafoam Green, Candy Apple Red, Lake Placid Blue, the original ones of those, and California Blue, those ones did not have matching headstocks on them. So I'm not sure what you're talking about. Unless you meant if you're talking about ones we looked at last week on stream, those are a different model, but I could point you in that direction too. Just let me know. I've never heard anything bad about Godin. Maybe Canada. Well, maybe Canada, because with acoustic guitars, they have a great reputation. I know, I'm going to butcher this pronunciation. I apologize. Laravi Acoustics have so many loyal followers. I'm not the biggest acoustic guitar player, but I know a lot of players that love those, and they speak in the way that I speak about Japanese Fender style guitars about the Laraves. I've said it 3 different ways in the span of 30 seconds, so hopefully one of them is correct. So yeah, maybe Canada is a shout. I can't think of too many other Canadian brands that have like that big of a reputation off the top of my head, and obviously I'm not taking really small builders into account from that because I don't have any experience with them, but who knows. You're planning on doing a comprehensive review of the guitar, just detailing the experience from start to finish. A spoiler alert, it is legitimately incredible. I think it should be, and I'm not surprised. But I'll be interested to see it. When you're done with it, let me know and I'll share it with everybody else. Staley, I don't think there is a best that can be generalized across all people and places. I get what you're saying, Staley. But I'm just trying to look at the big picture, because for the majority of the existence of the electric guitar, I think most people would unequivocally agree that it has been in the past the United States. And now that discussion is wide open. It's wide open. I do not think it is concrete. And obviously my opinion is I don't think it is the best. So un-American of me to say that on the 4th of July. It seems the culture of Japan is why their guitars, when compared to an equal alternative from elsewhere, tend to build and shipped out with more care on the front end. Yeah, exactly. It's not even just, there's more to it than just them caring. In America, we put up with garbage. We put up with garbage and we just accept it. The Japanese consumers do not. They do not. If a brand made a promise of something that was a feature on a guitar and they shipped it out and it did not have it, and customers got it, they would not keep them. Unless they wouldn't. They would not keep them. They would go back. If guitars come back with quality control issues in Japan, they go back. So it's in the manufacturers and then the shops who are selling the manufacturers' guitars' best interest to make sure that the end customer, because keep in mind the majority of Japanese-made guitars are intended for the Japanese market only. The majority of them. There are some that make it over to here, and then there are some brands that have full lines that are over here, but as a whole, they're made for the Japanese market. And their market will not put up with it. We do. We say, oh, but it's all right. Or we justify the price. It was only $1,000. It was a $1,300 guitar. Or if it's an American guitar, you say, oh, it's an American professional. Or it's a Gibson Les Paul Studio. It's not their top of the line. I'm okay with this, that, and the other thing. They're not okay with it. They're not okay with it. That has a big impact as well. Godin make very good guitars. That I've heard. The people over at Maybach in the Czech Republic are wizards. See, I knew I should have put it to Europe, the Czech Republic. I think of Thomas Rositzky when I think of the Czech Republic. You had a Siegel guitar that you really liked. That's awesome. I find comparing a 700 to 1500 import guitar in the USA not the same. Sure, the cheaper one could play, sound, and feel. You're wrong. I love you, Greg, but the thing I got to do is I got to get these in your hands. And I wish, if I had all the money in the world, man, because you seem like a really, really cool guy. If I had all the money in the world, I would take some of you guys to Japan. And I would go to some factories. Like, the Divisor factory, they use better materials than what Fender uses on a lot of their guitars. And it's all done by hand. On top of that. And the things that Japan was called, deficient for many years, and somewhat rightfully so, a lot of Strats, Tellys, well, Fenders in general, from the mid-'80s and the '90s into the 2000s, this didn't become uniform until about 4 or 5 years ago. They used inferior electronics on a lot of them. And by inferior, I don't mean that they didn't function, but you're talking the stuff that would come on like S2 PRSs, like the Alpha mini pots, import pickups. There were models that came with American pickups in a lot of those Japanese Fenders, but they still had the actual components, the switches, the jacks, the tone, and the volume controls. Those were all import spec. So for a while, you could always say like, yeah, you're not getting like the same stuff, but no, they're using the same stuff. And if anything, a lot of the wood that they're using, like the better builders in Japan, outside of the factory stuff, it's been aged and stored just as good, if not better, and in a non-rushed fashion because they don't have to meet quotas as American guitars do. And when I think about and here's the other thing, just for clarity's sake, when I think of a $700 to $1,500 Japanese guitar, I'm not thinking about anything new. I'm immediately looking at the used market. And for what you can get for that same amount of money, and it's going to be in mint condition because they actually take care of their stuff. It's nah. I'm a fanboy. What can I say? And everything around me in the room, I'm looking around, everything's Japanese. I was born in the wrong body. I'm not sure. Similar to the reason the Japanese cars are typically superior, yeah, they're not going to... Same thing with the cars. They have to last. They have to last. Although recently, with a lot of stuff, it's been a bit different with new regulations and international stuff. But that car thing is a mess. I'm not getting into that. I know you love your made in Japan stuff, Matt. Really interesting to compare Japanese brands that have somewhat of a production line but only build expensive stuff. PGM. Oh, PGM is like Moon. Yeah. And G7, I didn't mention them earlier when I was talking about the really high end. Those are, yeah. The other problem is, it's like you almost got to see it to believe it. Because you can only read and listen to so much hype and crap on the internet. And I get it. Believe me. I was just shopping around for a new laptop because mine crapped the bed, which is one of the reasons I wanted to be able to move around and work outside of just this room, right? I'm looking at reviews online. Oh my God. It's horrible. It's a horrible experience. Just in general, looking at reviews, because it's like you don't really know. But it's easier with a computer because it's like, specs are specs. They're all built the exact same way. Guitars, there's room for error and all that stuff, and variation, especially with things that are important and are going to impact the feel of the guitar, such as the neck carve. When they're sanded down, they're different. But yeah. There's lots of great stuff everywhere. Like, and there's a lot of American brands I'd like to try that aren't ones I've ever had before. I was recently looking at something really outside the box, from Ricardo Sanchez.
I'm learning how to choose the right audio apps for you. Which one do you want to use to listen to this?
I'm not interested right now, thank you.
Here's what I found.
Anyway, I love Apple. Greetings from Montana. Watching setup videos set up the player strap. Some suggest starting with the bridge, which is angled towards the fretboard to flatten the springs before truss rod adjustment. I am of that school of thought too. When it comes to setting up the bridge, I get the bridge dialed in where I want first, so long as the neck is not extremely backbowed or way off with the truss rod alignment, and then you fine tune the truss rod from there once you get the string heights and everything where you need them to go. The attention to detail, quality, and craftsmanship are superb. Well, I mean, they're superb from a lot of places, dude. But yeah, I mean, the thing for me is the consistency of it all. And what sucks is this. I don't want to have to say any of this. I don't have to, but it's my opinion. I would prefer to say, yeah, America still makes the best stuff, and really believe it when I say it. I wasn't born here, but I lived here, and I've lived here for the majority of my life. So of course I want America to be the best. I would love for that to be the case. In my experience with hundreds of guitars, unfortunately, just from business and all that stuff, and not anymore. Just not anymore. Not to me. Last week's one, sorry. Oh, the Jaguars. Ishibashi Music is where we were looking at the Jaguars last week. Overall, yes, but there are other small batch builders from other countries just as good. Not really major producers except Ibanez. I get what you meant there. I can see it. I will say this, though. Even like the really high end, I get this more with Gibson. With Fender, I think Fender just lose. I think the Japanese absolutely make better Fender guitars outside of Fender and including Fender than we get here as a whole now. But with Gibsons, I'm a little bit more hesitant. I'm a little more like, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. Because the difference between like the American original Telecaster that I had, I sold that, by the way, the blue one, and the Fender Custom Shop that I had, quality-wise and feel-wise and sound-wise, wasn't like, I don't know, it didn't feel like a gigantic difference. The Custom Shop was a little nicer for sure, but it wasn't like, oh, this is miles better. Whereas with, the Japanese made Fender style instruments, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm like, this is nice. And I've had the opportunity to play a lot of great old American Fenders to have kind of a baseline of my opinion from. And I think the other thing that's worth mentioning is I'm flavored towards vintage spec stuff. Perhaps for people that are different, that like the modern stuff, that like the bigger frets, the flatter fingerboards, modern bridges, modern pickups, modern everything else, the ergonomics and things that weren't on the vintage style guitars, maybe this is a better time. It's possible. And we do have some great builders that have modern takes on Fender style guitars that I also believe do a better job than Fender in America, like Sir. If I was going to buy new, which I'm not, and I had custom shop money, I'd buy a Sir Telly over a Fender Custom Shop Telly. If I was going for, because they're both modern and how they're going to be spec'd out 99% of the way, I'd go with the Sir. Those are great guitars, man. Those are great guitars. I have every level of Fender from Squire to Mexican to Custom Shop to Masterbuilt. Each one through looks, plays different. Yeah, well, yeah, I'm agreeing with you 100% on that part. 100%. They all, like, the Masterbuilt is the one that I wish I could speak on from real experience. You can, but I cannot. But from team built all the way down to the lowest tier of what's available here in America from Fender, I've had it all and across many different spans, from the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, the 70s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, and the 2000s, 2010s, and obviously the modern stuff too. And the Jaguar that I built, I sold that too. That had a really nice neck on it from an American original. And I'm strongly of the opinion that the neck is the most important part of the guitar, as far as your feel goes and how much you're going to gel with it. And that to me is like the biggest problem I have with a lot of Mexican Fenders and with a lot of pretty much all the Squires. I'll just gotta be honest. I don't really like the necks on the Squires. Just way too glossed, and the shapes just aren't for me. I still ended up selling that guitar because I preferred a regular production Japanese Fender. Well, not regular production, but a special run Japanese Fender, the Sonic Blue one that I had. I like that much more as an end product of guitar. And I didn't skimp on anything with that build. That had an American vibrato, that had a stay trem bridge, Lindy Freeland pickups, the American neck. The only thing that was Squire on that guitar was the body. And just the sum of all of its parts, even knowing how to tweak up an offset. I had no problems with how it played. It just didn't feel like a great guitar. So parts only matter so much too. You know? It's overall build. Even with PGM, looks like they split production between Van Zandt Moon. Yeah, I saw that PGM has been doing a bunch of different things. And they're all, to my knowledge, as of at least 6 months ago, they are still made in the same factory. But Van Zandt, if only the Van Zandt guitars didn't lose their paint if you looked at them funny. And I was cool with relics. Because those age super fast. But the necks on the Van Zandts, if you like vintage Fenders, they're great. They're really great. Hold on. I'm missing something. Not a big fan of, okay, you got somebody talking about acoustics. Larrivee, I just haven't played one I like, but they were all very used at Guitar Center and not set up. That's the worst place to judge any brand, unfortunately. But there's not many other places you're going to find one depending on where you are in the country. So I understand it. Like, there's some brands I've only been able to try at Guitar Center that, you know, I didn't always have the best impressions of, and it's not a fair reflection of the brand's quality. Because you don't know anything about how long that guitar's been sitting out, how many people have, or if it got any setup out of the box, which 99% of the time at Guitar Center it didn't, and what its potential is. Because you're not going to sit there and set up a guitar in the shop as you sit and try it out. Everyone's going to look at you with your tools and be like, what the hell is this idiot doing? Get him out of here. Sorry, off topic. What did you think of the Bellingham bicycle kick? I was angry. You want me to be honest with you? 2 minutes. I'll be really quick. He's talking about the Euros football. I was angry because, first of all, that was their first shot on target against that team, who was ranked, what, mid-50s in the world? In your England? That was your first shot on target, and it took you the last dying kick of the game in a miracle from the only English player that plays for a legitimate club to bail you out. And all their fans wanted him off. I was angry when he made that. And then that fluke of a goal from Kane. I dislike that team. I dislike Eric Southgate. Siegel is owned by Godin. Yeah, I did know that. Where to buy a Japanese guitar that isn't available in the USA? Start at the place we looked at last week. Digimart. Oh my God. There we go. For Japanese browsing. Digimart is think of it almost like Reverb, except it's all shops. And you can buy new or used, and you'll find out where the guitar is located when you find one you like. And then you contact the shop. The end. It's very painless, and it's not intimidating, and the majority of these shops are going to have English-speaking staff. It's not like it used to be. It's not something you should be afraid of. Or yeah, you could also go to Ishibashi. That works too. You've had good luck with Korean Revolta. That's one I would like to see. That's one I would like to see in my hands. A Revolta at some point. But I don't know. I don't know if we're going to get there. I'm not buying one blind. If I found one at a price I could not refuse, or if I met somebody locally that had one and I got to borrow it for a few days, I would 100% take up that offer. But Spending my own money, I don't think so. Only because I'm in the business of buying and selling guitars for a profit, not at a loss. And if I bought that, I would be taking a loss 99% of the time. But Rex, you just have good luck in general, man. You have good luck in general. You could totally see me with the Sir. I would love the Alt T. That's my favorite Sir. But those went up in price by so much money in the span of like 2 years. You just be able to get one of those for under $2,000 with no effort. Good luck now. Good luck. USA G&L versus USA Fender. That'd be a fun video, but I don't think it would matter. Even if the G&L blew the doors off the Fender, it wouldn't change much to a lot of people because of the headstock. It's going to sound ridiculous, but it's true. The shape of that headstock turns so many people off. And it's such a silly thing, but I get it. I get it. And the other reason why people don't buy new G&L USA as easily as they will buy a new Fender USA model is because if you don't like the G&L, or you just grow out of it, or you just want to try something else, you are going to eat it selling one of those. Whereas the Fender is going to retain its value way more. Hi, you're the other... I am the YouTuber who posted the video about the rolling kit. Oh, you bought one? I'm working on getting that thing set up. I'm happy that you found it. And I'm happy that you got one and you're happy with it. They're great kits. The snare drum is phenomenal on that. Especially from playing older snare drums on electronic kits. Even like the TD11 snare drum. It was mesh. And it felt better than the rubber pads. But nowhere near as nice as the one that came on the TD17 KVX. Which are now on sale actually at Sweetwater. I believe if you buy one of those from them, you get a free throne with it, like a nice throne. So if you don't have one of those and you want to play drums, it's a great kit. Okay. Gibson versus Heritage. The Gibson versus Heritage is the same thing I just said with G&L. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. Although I can say I don't like the... I haven't found a Heritage that I loved. I've played a bunch of those. I have not found one that I loved. But the headstock kills it for people. Let's check on the poll before we keep going. Which country makes the best electric guitars? We're up to 38 votes. I think one of the options was a bit of a waste. In last place is the UK with 0. That's where your national team should be. In last place, in 0, you should be eliminated from the competition. It's a disgrace. Third place is other, which could be anything. Second place is the United States at 32%. And 58% of you out of the 38 say Japan. All right, let me get that out. Well, we'll keep going here. Can you buy cool fireworks in Florida? Are you stuck with the wimpy ones like we are stuck in California? Oh, we can buy cool ones. This is our first 4th of July here in this part of Florida. But in Fort Myers, well, you didn't even need to go anywhere. Like a lot of places in this country, people will drive to like public areas to watch the fireworks. And it's great. Sometimes it's because it's illegal to set off fireworks in certain states. But it's just easier for them and whatever. The way we do it in Florida is everybody on your block buys fireworks. Everybody goes out to the street and you all set off fireworks. And what happens is the entire sky lights up. And it's from everywhere. It is awesome. It's one of the coolest parts about living here. I'm so excited about tonight. We're going to have some pulled pork. Smoked pulled pork. It's going to be awesome. Cook up a burger or two just because. I have another one of my Mexican Cokes. Some French fries and watch some fireworks. Should be a fun day. But no, we get the good stuff here. Look, their precision in their culture. It's ingrained in them for centuries, near perfection. Yes, they won't accept less. You just got a Van Zant Jazzmaster Red last month. Got the first ding in it already. See, you know, Daniel, you know what I'm talking about, though. Those Van Zants, the nitro on that is paper thin. Paper thin. Even those flash coat Fender guitars, where it's just like a really, really thin coat, and compared to the fuller plast base coats that go on a lot of the nitro finished Fender guitars nowadays, they're still really thin compared to those. But the Van Zants, You take your finger and you just go with this much force like that, and paint is going to come straight off that guitar. Be careful. And don't leave it on a stand that has any direct contact with the paint in areas where you don't want that paint to go either discolored or removed. You regret selling an 80s G&L after you bought the 52 Fender. Even though the Fender is great, it became primary guitar, you still have the Comanche, the stable. That's awesome. See, Rex is really open-minded with his guitars, and he could put them to good use. And that's all you can ever ask for. Good morning, Patrick. It's 11:33 a.m. So you're on the you're in Central Time. Good to see you. I'm almost caught up. I'm a little slow. Question: has anyone played the J Mascis Jazzmaster? Thinking of buying one. It says made in China, but really made in Taiwan. Are the pickups really P90s? Yeah, the J Mascis was a non-starter for me for 3 reasons. One, the pickups. They're not Jazzmaster pickups. Some people like that. A lot of people like that because people want to play grungy stuff, rock stuff, alt stuff, more gain, basically. And they work great for that. Second is the bridge. I see a tune-o-matic or an adjust-o-matic bridge on a Jazzmaster or a Jaguar. Non-negotiable. Not interested. And the third is the placement of the vibrato on those. It's a little more modern. It's not as far back. But I know a lot of people that do love them. I do. Fender Custom Shop 2-color heavy relics were $3,750 4 years ago. Now they're $6,000. Dude, it's nuts. It's nuts. But that's the direction everything's going in. And if I had a Fender Custom Shop and I really loved it, I wouldn't even consider selling it. My favorite Fender Custom Shop I ever had was one I had to sell. And it was, if I ever had to rebuy this back, if I could find it, it would cost me a fortune. Because I wasn't as big into who made things and who wound the pickups at the time when I bought that guitar. I bought it because I love black double-bound Telecasters. And the neck was great. But it was a 61 reissue from the early 2010s. I believe it was a 2011 model. And it had the Abigail Ybarra pickups, one of the last years that she was working from Fender. I loved that guitar. I did not want to sell that guitar. I did not sell that guitar like I've sold many other custom shops that I've had since, because I was just like, I didn't like it, or this didn't work, or whatever. Like, that was a perfect Telecaster. That had a vintage radius on it. Small frets. A little beat up, but I lived with it because it sounded and it played like an old guitar. If I wanted to rebuy one of those, it'd be like $7,000, $8,000. Long story short, I wish I never sold it. So if you have a Fender Custom Shop you really do love, keep it. Because they're just going to get more expensive. Change your mind. Scotland wasn't an option. We're more known for our skilled footballers and luthiers. Yeah, you got some. Scotland had a great match against Germany to start off the tournament. Nothing like a good old 2-footed tackle inside of the box to get a red card and end the match in the first 45 minutes. There you go. I would consider moving to Florida, but no thank you due to alligators. I never see alligators. Like, there's a lot of valid reasons to not want to come to Florida. Alligators is not a valid reason. I'm sorry. You don't just, they don't just walk around. It's not like YouTube or TikTok or Instagram where you see like the viral videos where there's an alligator just walking through a mall or something ridiculous like that. That's not how day-to-day life works here. But the heat and the humidity are killer, though. In California, the weather is the best weather in the United States. Southern California, more specifically. Pacific Northwest California, like San Fran, stuff like that, I don't see the appeal at all. You're losing the best parts of California. So you would adjust to that. But different strokes for different folks. And also gigging here is a lot more limited than California, obviously. And you guys are talking about the J Mascis. That's good. I like when you guys can help out everybody else here. Kind of related to what Greg said about the custom shop price hikes. You like boutique, sorry, brands like Echo Park, but they're pricey. The Nacho guitars are insane. 1 second. Oh, pounded it out like it had Japanese whiskey in it. I'm perched. I was talking too much. That's one of the reasons I like Ricardo guitars, and they're on my radar. Because their prices haven't gotten insane yet. And I kind of want to do something nuts. I kind of want to do like a really, really, really not traditional guitar. Let me see if I can bring it up, and I'll give you an idea here. You know what? Let's just look at their website together, everybody, real quick. But I understand what you're saying with the prices are just, there's so much. Well, even like a company like Nash, those are glorified parts casters. They're parts casters with Lawler pickups. They're great pickups, don't get me wrong. But they're parts casters where he's not making the bodies of the necks themselves. He's just doing the finish work and then putting them together. Whereas some of the other places, they're doing everything. I appreciate that more. But the point is those Nash guitars are knocking on $3,000. It's crazy. So, Ricardo's guitars. This telly, this is an all-American made telly. Not what I'm looking at, but look at this. $850. 100% made in the USA. Yeah, you can't get every custom color. But at the end of the day here, it's got the Marzio pickups, a Wilkinson bridge, medium jumbo and a nitro finish with a Gator gig bag. Under $1,000. Fantastic. Now, on to what I was thinking of doing. Not right now, one day down the road. All right, building one of these wild Mustangs. I would get one with no F-holes. I would put the Jazzmaster vibrato on it. I'd get it in purple. I'd get the bound neck. I'd get the... those inlays are the ones I would check, yeah. Well, maybe blocks. The roasted maple. Just go all out with it. And then throw in a set of a Lawler pickups. But I'm thinking about doing that. And that would come out to completely handmade to my own spec. About $2,000. Which is very reasonable from something built from scratch with high-end stuff. But you get all sorts of different options. You can have it chambered if you want. If you didn't like that R, which is his logo, you could get the traditional F-hole. And that goes for all of his guitars. No skimping on any of the hardware. Mastery stuff if you want it. It's available for you. Or you just want roller bridges. But yeah, this is something I've been kicking around the idea of, just to have something unique and different. But it is not a need, and it is not something that's happening anytime soon. Although the longer I wait, the more expensive that will get. Jazzmaster pickups can do all those genres too. They can, but people refuse to believe it. I thought the JV Jazzmaster with when it had the Lawlers in it through the Friedman sounded vicious, and it sounded full, and it cut really well when I dropped it in with some drums. And those are just standard style Jazzmaster pickups. High quality, but they're not P90s. Nothing nuts. It's Jazzmaster style pickups. They can do it. Pickups aren't authentic either, but I love that bridge pickup. It's in a bit of a hybrid. Yeah. I mean, I get the appeal for it. I get the appeal to have P90s in a Jazzmaster. Just can have some issues with noise, which is part of the reason it has the gold pickguard on it, the anodized pickguard, to kind of fight against some of that. Not your type of guitar, but any thoughts on the Wolfgang Special? I feel like those in the Charvel San Dimas Pro Model, they might be the best in Mexico. I've never tried one though. I like the purple kind of like transparent-ish finish on the one. I've never played one, so I can't sit here and give you a definitive answer. I will say this though. I find in general the Charvel Mexican guitars are more consistent than the Fender Mexican ones. I don't know why that is. I don't know if there's a different group of people specifically building those or what the deal is. However, it wouldn't surprise me then if the EVH line had a similar thing going on with it. But I'd like to try one of those. I have nothing bad to say. I will say that much. You only once returned to my Tampa house to find a gator in the driveway. Only once. It happens. Thanks for stopping by, Marco. For it. Seriously, I'm amazed you made it this long. I thought you're getting out of here too. But enjoy the rest of your holiday, sir. You met so many people in New Zealand that wouldn't come to Canada because of the bears. The bears? I think if you're on like a border area where the United States meets Canada, it's probably less of a concern. But as you go into the unknown, the tundra, I could see that being a serious fear. Yeah. Wouldn't stop me from going, though. The cold itself is what stopped me. I'm more scared of freezing to death than I am of bears. It's too freaking cold in Canada. You made it. I only get an election once every 4 years, so I had to make the most of it. That's terrible. I hope that you voted well, and I hope that whoever you voted for wins and helps you guys out. I didn't realize it was election day. Man, about Nash. MJT is offering full guitars for $12.99. Why on earth does Nash start at $3K? I can tell you exactly why Nash starts at $3K. It's because people pay it. Full stop. Full stop. Because people will still pay it. I've never had one on this channel. I've never had one for... I'm not a relic guy. But I remember those all day for $1,000. All day. Times change. You can confirm Jazzmaster pickups scream. You play them in a band where it's more hard rock. Yeah, I know. And as long as you know how to tame it, the Jazzmaster through a Marshall and a healthy amount of distortion sound mean as hell. All you gotta do is roll off some of that tone knob, and you're fine. You're fine. They sound awesome. Love Jazzmaster pickups with gain. You have a Mexican-made Warren DeMartini, snicks Charvel. You can't fault it. Charvels, yeah. Love to see that. And you are waiting on Sweetwater to ship your Fender Jagstang guitar. Birthday gift to myself. You can't wait. Are those on sale? I saw something at Sweetwater. Jagstang. 10% off. There you go. Well, I hope you enjoy it. And I saw Squire released a Jaguar. It's an entry-level one. Where is it? I'll load it up in case you guys didn't see it yet. All I'm going to say is this. No, that's not the window we want. That's not the window we want at all. We're still on Ricardo. Where is it? Did I lose it? I think we lost it. So let's go to the window that has the Ricardo guitars. No, it's just gone. All right, whatever. It's not that important anyways. We're just gonna X out of this. I can't be asked. They released a Squire version of a Jazzmaster with a maple fingerboard, maple neck, and the color is Mystic Brown. That sums up how I perceive Fender feel about their Jaguars. Mystic Brown. Refuse to make a proper American version. You won't import the good Japanese ones. The Vinteras only come with a maple board and those black blocks. Nah, I'm not a fan. And then you have the Squires and the Players. You just refuse. You just refuse to give us what we want as Jaguar players. Don't want a Johnny Marr. Looks nice. The Fender Saturday Night Special with the Seymour Duncan pickups looks nice. The blue is great. I will say I like those pickups a lot. I've never played them in an F-style guitar. But I like the Saturday Night Special pickups. I had those in an Orville by Gibson guitar for a little bit. They sounded really good. And $850 on sale for a Mexican player Strat or a player Telly is a lot. There's places like Adorama where you can get those for $500 new, and then you can pick out whatever pickups you want. That's how I would go about it, personally. However, let's see how the poll ended, because we're almost done today, and it is 4th of July, and I got to go pick up some supplies for the rest of the evening. What country makes the best electric guitars? 10% say other, 0% say England, hope you get knocked out when you play Switzerland, 32% say United States, and 57% say Japan. So the consensus of the viewers of this channel, not to my surprise, because I know a lot of people will watch this channel primarily because I focus on Japanese guitars. It makes sense why it ended up the way it did. But I still love some American guitars. And there's still some amazing ones being built, with no doubt in my mind. Thank you for watching, hanging out today. Spend time with your families. If you're in the United States, get off the computer. Don't be a schmuck like me. Let's go. Have fun. If you're in Europe, just have a good rest of your day. Thanks for checking in. We will have a video either tomorrow or Saturday, 100%. And it's going over that guy. It's gold. Take it easy, everybody.